Right, I have my training program and I am going to lift the exact same way until I die. I did that for 70 years and I look exactly the same. Shit. Simon aboard A-hole here, thank you for joining me as always, and I'm going to assume that you're trying to build muscle. And the reason that I assume this is because, well, that's why a lot of people go to the gym. You may be trying to lose fat, or you may be trying to get abs, but most of us want to be built like the Hulk. We want to go out there and people look at us and go, oh my gosh, you're so huge, and then we come home and cry. But it's not that easy. We know that it's not that easy, so today I wanted to give you 8 reasons why you're probably not building muscle. And in at number 8 is you're not training that muscle part twice a week. Now, if you are a long-term watcher of my channel, you're like, Simon, would you stop going on about this? But no, I won't stop going on about this because people don't seem to get it. And again, I totally understand where you're coming from because I used to do this as well. It wasn't until I got a trainer, 4 or 5 years ago now, when I trained for my first bodybuilding contest, and he looked at my program and he said, why are you only working one muscle part a week? And I was like, well, I thought if you work them twice a week, you had to be on steroids. And he was like, no, it's just simple mathematics. If you work them once a week, you'll be training them 52 times a year. And if you work them twice a week, you'll be working them 104. Again, you can't argue with the science. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do that. If you prefer a bro split where you're doing, I don't know, back and bis and chest and tries and shoulders and legs, and you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But you may be building muscle, so you may be seeing success with that, so you should keep doing it. Never break something that's working. But I'm talking about the people that are not doing it. If you think you've hit a plateau, when you think you need to bring something new into your program, start doing a push-pull legs rest, push-pull leg split just for a little while and see if it will help. Because all I know is that I had hit a brick wall for ages, and I started doing that, and within 6 months, with the right diet and with the right training, with the right help, I was able to put on some muscle. I mean, not 6 months, probably like a year. Again, it takes a long time, this stuff. But so many people haven't tried it because they so think you just have to do, everyone calls it bro splits, but they call it whatever you want. They think that is the way to do it. But ultimately, there's no way to do it. If you want to try and do it 3 times a week, give it a go. Now, I think that's overkill. And what I think you're going to do is you're going to push that muscle too far. So actually it starts to regress. But give it a go. I promise you, give it a go. At least try twice. And if I'm wrong, well, there's nothing you can do about that because we don't know each other. Number 7 is sticking to the same rep range. What I mean by that is most people, let's say on bench press, are going to do 4 sets. Maybe do a couple of warm-up sets, you do a couple of working sets, whatever it will be. But from set 1 to set 4, you do, let's just say 100 kilograms. You do 8 reps, 100 kilograms. You do 8 reps, 100 kilograms. You do 8 reps, 100 kilograms. And you do 8 reps, 100 kilograms. And that says to me that 1, you're probably not pushing it enough because it should kind of work like a pyramid. Like you should be trying to achieve progressive overload as much as you possibly can. But if you're not fatiguing and if you're not getting weaker throughout these 4 sets, what would stand to reason that maybe you're not putting the effort in. And again, if you don't put the effort in, you're not going to grow. Because every set shouldn't be as easy as the last one, because that doesn't make any sense. It means you're not stepping forward. Like, you wouldn't do that in any other walk of your life. That'd be like having a 3-course dinner and you just have 3 dinners. Actually, that sounds amazing. It was a terrible analogy, but I'm going to stick with it. And I think the reason people do this is because they're just too lazy to re-rack their weight or change their weight or whatever the hell it's going to be. But always remember this, you are on a process here. You are trying to get better at the gym, and it's called progressive overload. We talked about it 1,000 times. You can look it up if you're not 100% sure what that means. But you can do this without even realizing it sometimes. So switch on your brain, and when you get to that last set, tell yourself, this is my last set. I gotta smash it. Which also kind of ties into number 6, you're scared of heavy weights. Now, let's not pretend otherwise. Time under tension and range of motion and form are, in my opinion, the 3 most important things. So I'm not saying that you rack up the bar to an incredible weight and hurt yourself. You have to take care of yourself. But in many ways, muscles really are a byproduct of strength. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when you see a huge guy or you see a huge girl, they are lifting a lot of weight representative to their size. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to walk down this path in order to see the evolution you're looking for. But if we are just breaking things down to their simplest denominator, you're going to have to be lifting a lot of weight for you. And don't forget, a lot of weight doesn't mean 250 kilogram bench press. Maybe heavy for you is a 50 kilogram bench press. But as long as you're doing it safe and as long as you're doing it to the point you're not going to risk injury, you should absolutely be trying to push as much as you can. Now, some people say, but I don't want to push as much as I can. That's fine, but just make sure you're also doing the other things as well. But we're talking about people here that have hit a wall, that have hit a plateau. So So time under tension, absolutely. Range of motion, absolutely. Form, absolutely. But you got to be pushing a little bit of a weight because, again, it just makes all the sense in the world. If your muscle is getting stronger, it probably also means it's getting bigger. I'm not talking about powerlifting. That's a completely different thing, but it's about finding that perfect balance between, oh my gosh, I can do these 8 reps wonderfully, and also I'm pushing a lot of weight. And number 5 is training for the pump. And we all do this. We all get confused by this. We all get drawn in by this because we go to the gym and because we fill up, say, our biceps, because we're training biceps that day with a load of blood, and we look at it in the mirror, we go, well, I've had a terrific training session because look how big my bicep is. There's the wrong way to go about it, because I tell you this, you could actually have a training session where maybe you get less pump, but overall is actually more beneficial to you. I mean, there are products you can take, there are products that you can throw down your mouth before you go to the gym that will enhance your pump. So let's say you take one of these and you lift up a 1 kilogram weight and you do so many reps that you are able to blow yourself up. That's not going to help you. You're not going to grow. You're not going to build muscle. You may look great in that sort of 35 to 45 minute period after the gym. You're like, man, this is my perfect body. But then poof, you get popped by a balloon and you're sad again. I do understand this because it feels great. It's like the people that do cardio and think that they have to sweat, where sweating just means you're hot and your body is trying to cool yourself down. Do not try and worry about these outside factors. If you get them and you enjoy them, celebrate them and use them as a motivator, but it doesn't mean you're having a good workout. It doesn't mean you're having your bad workout. It's the same as DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. If you get them, sweet, it means you've done something, but it doesn't necessarily mean you've put your body into a state of growth. The only way you can do that is by looking at yourself and measuring yourself and keeping an eye on those certain statistics. If you have a 14-inch bicep and then in 2 years you've got a 16-inch bicep, unless you've gotten super duper mega fat, I'm going to assume it's muscle. Then number 4 is awful reps. And I don't mean range of motion or time under tension that we've already talked about. I am talking about you going to the gym all the time and you're having a bad day and maybe you've fallen into your routine just a little bit much. And let's take the squat rack, and you know how much you have to squat and you know how much you squatted last week, but you think to yourself, I don't want to squat all that reps, but you will put it on because you're like, well, I guess I have to. And then you do it and it is the worst repetition anyone has ever seen. You don't go down to parallel, you don't go down low enough, and you do one of these like burp squats, which doesn't really engage anything apart from your ego. Now, because you have lifted the same weights and because you wrote 8 reps down on your piece of paper, you go, well, obviously I've done exactly what I was hoping to do. But once again, long term, this isn't going to benefit you. So always make sure the rep that you're doing is of good quality. Like if you do need to drop the weight for just one session because you're tired or you're stressed or whatever it is, do it. But you can't just go, well, I'm going to get this done. Or you can do, of course you can. You can do whatever you want in the gym. But I'm talking about the people, once again, that are struggling to build muscle. If you're getting there going, oh man, I just got to get this done, then no, you probably won't be pushing your body to the limit. Because don't forget, when you do go in the gym, you do have to be a little bit of a madman. Which ties into number 3, you probably do just have to train harder in general. I like to compare this one to a meeting, right? If you go and sit down in a meeting at work and you're distracted and then somebody says, hey Steve, what did you think of that report? And you weren't really listening, you're like, well, I thought it was good. And then you drastically go through your files and hope you can pull out some kind of number. So it's the same with the gym, but the weights are the dude asking the question. If you are not dialed in and if you are not treating this as the most important thing in the world as you are doing it, then once again, it stands to reason that you're not going to have the intensity you need and you're not going to be pushing enough in order to trigger muscle synthesis, which is what you're going to need in order to actually see some kind of change there. So be aware of what you're doing when you are in the gym. We all have those sessions where it kind of goes past in a blur and you're like, did I actually do anything? I'm not sure. But they have to be few and far between if you do indeed want to start putting some muscle onto your frame. So treat it like the most important thing in the world. I don't mean you should then sacrifice other things. I just mean in that 1 hour to 2 hour window, treat it like nothing is more important. Dial in mentally, which we can talk about in just 1 second, and it 100% will help you. Which is at number 2, which is the mental approach or this mind-muscle connection. Because we do fall into bad habits, such as, having too long a rest sense or overusing our phone. I think a phone is perfectly cool to use in 2022. We've moved on. But if you're on it for like 10 minutes and then you do a workout for 1 minute and you're back on it to 10 minutes again, that's not helping anybody. And the reason the mind-muscle connection is so important is if you can dial into that, so when you are doing a bicep curl, you can feel every aspect of that bicep going crazy on the way up and crazy on the way down, you are hitting that muscle. Now, this isn't like turning on a light switch. Most people think, well, I just do a rep and the mind-muscle connection is there. No, some days you just can't get it. But when you do, it's absolutely crazy. And going back to things we've talked about earlier, sometimes it also instigates a bigger pump because you are completely focused in on that muscle. So make sure before you do any set, Think to yourself, I've moved my table. Think to yourself, oh no, I'm knocked over Joe the fitness mascot. Think to yourself, get out of here. Think to yourself, what am I trying to achieve and what do I need to do? Equate it to climbing Mount Everest. You wouldn't just get a hiking pick and go, blah, 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 blah. You would plan this out and you would make sure it was the most important thing that you were doing that day. Treat the gym the same way. And it's kind of crazy how it can change your workouts, because all of a sudden you are in there, you have this realization, you have this out-of-body experience, and when you are done, you go, oh my gosh, all these weeks, and I haven't been kicking my ass enough. And number one is a bit more simple because it's all about not knowing how to eat. And there's no wrong, right answer to this, but people just can't make up their minds, because the cool in thing at the moment is that you can build muscle in a calorie deficit, which you absolutely can. But if you are going to do that, you have to stick to the calorie deficit. Some people like to go a bit more old school and go, I'm going to bulk now and then go on a cut. But when you start bulking, that doesn't mean you eat all the calories and get really fat, because then you're going to get fat and you're trying to build muscles. Then all of a sudden they panic and they try and go the other way. That's not how this works. You have to decide what you're going to do. You have to pick a lane and you have to dedicate yourself that to what? 6 months, 8 months, a year, depending on how long your growth phase is going to be. But if you are just jumping here, there, and everywhere, of course you're not going to see muscle, because how is your body meant to know what it's going to do? Consistency and routine are so important when it comes to gym life in general, because that's the only way you can see how well you're going to respond to something. And today, people just don't do it. They don't see results in like 1-2 weeks. They go, oh, my diet must be wrong, or my training must be wrong. I'll change up. Do not do it. Try bulking. Stick with that. Try the calorie deficit approach. Stick to that. It's going to be different for different people, because unfortunately that's how this whole thing works. I don't mean to be that guy, but it's all trial and error. You can read the best article about keto and look at someone and go, that is the greatest body I've ever seen in my life. And you try keto and you look like a fish. And given that you weren't trying to look like a fish, this isn't good at all. But eating and diet is going to be so important when trying to put on muscle, because it's your fuel. Like, do you ever get in your car and not have any fuel and just expect it to drive? No, that's where it all starts. And it's the same with the gym. It's why if you're ever prepping for a competition or you go super low calories for a long time and get your body fat right down, the gym is incredibly hard, because once again, you're doing it without any energy. There you go. Some reasons why you may not be building muscle, but ultimately just make sure you stand the course. That's the most important thing. Do not deter. Do not fall off the wagon. Do not think you won't see changes, because you will eventually. You just have to believe in the process. And you really do get sort of a long period down the line and you're not seeing anything. That's when you change it up. And there are so many options, but people are just doing it all the time. And I don't think that helps anyone. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the bell ding ding so another video is going live. There will be another video on the screen. Please do give it a click. Also, you can leave a comment below, which I'd appreciate. YouTube loves the algorithm stuff. Also, gorillamind.com/Simon. You can go to Simon, get 10% off. There's a link for all of this stuff in the description below. I like this stuff. I think you'll like it too. In Great New Sets Power 13 Cookbook at Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter. Patreon.com/Simon316 for exclusive videos. Simon@TheBigCartel.com for merchandise. And I'm on Cameo. If I want a shout out, you take care. If I want to shout out, no. If you want to shout out, I can shout myself out whenever I want. I'm a lucky boy. Goodbye.